Hi there, students. Autochthonous, indigenous and native. Well, these all refer to something that originates from a specific place. But I think this word autochthonous is talking about the original inhabitant. So an autochthonous species is a species that originates in a place. It was formed in the place where it is found. It grew up. It originated in that place. And I think autochthonous is a scientific word. It's something as old as the hills in a specific location. Now, often they use autochthonous for a geological formation. So these rocks are autochthonous rocks. This is an autochthonous rock formation. Or in biology, an autochthonous species is one that evolved in the place. It wasn't introduced. So indigenous. The earliest known inhabitants of a specific region. I think indigenous and autochthonous have the same concept, but indigenous is more commonly used for people, particularly to describe a population before colonization. So the Aborigines are indigenous in Australia. They were the indigenous people when the British arrived. You could say they're autochthonous as well. Autochthonous is more formal than indigenous. I think I would give autochthonous a 7.5 or even an 8 in formality. I think indigenous I would give probably a 6.5. So the indigenous people, the people who are there, particularly when they're displaced by colonization. So when Europeans went to the United States, the indigenous people were the Native Americans. Native means born in a place. And native doesn't really matter about ancestry. I think native is the most general word. Native, I would give a 5 in formality. A native, it only means born in a place. So I'm a native of Oxford, although my parents were born in different places. So am I an indigenous people? No, because my family don't originally come from there, and I'm certainly not autochthonous. Now, I was thinking about trees, because the area where I live in, chestnut trees are very, very, very common. But these are, in fact, autochthonous. They're not autochthonous because these trees were introduced by the Romans, and that means they're not autochthonous and they're not indigenous, but they are native to this area, and you will find them everywhere. So I think autochthonous originating in the place where it's found. This has the idea of something that's connected to the land, it's joined to the land. Indigenous talks more about the first people, particularly the people who have been displaced by colonization. And then a native is somebody who is born there. Although I think the word native you can use over a wider a wider spectrum. So you could say Native Americans. Native Americans were the indigenous people who were there. I wonder if they are autochthonous or not, or if they came across a land bridge from Asia. Of that I'm not sure. So, autochthonous, a species or a people or a rock formation or a disease which originated in the place where it's found. Indigenous, a species that's original to a region and it's been there for a long time. And then native is born or originating in a place. And native is very often used for a species. So a native species. Let's see. This word autochthonous comes from autochthon in ancient Greek, meaning indigenous. Autos, self, chthon, earth. So self from the earth, produced from the earth itself. Indigenous comes from Latin in and gigno. Gigno is to give birth to, so given birth to in a place. And then native comes from Latin, nativus, natus, birth, a place that you're born. So let's try. The tribe has a rich oral history that preserves their autochthonous culture. The autochthonous people have lived in this area for thousands of years. We need to protect the autochthonous flora and fauna of this ecosystem. The autochthonous tribes have successfully preserved their traditional lifestyle. The autochthonous architecture of the town reflects its heritage, the autochthonous music of the region. Indigenous. The indigenous people of Australia are known as the Aborigines. There are several indigenous languages spoken. And then native. The museum shows various examples of native art forms. He's a native speaker. I think for a native speaker, I'm a native speaker of English. So autochthonous, indigenous and native. Bye for now.